When we were all kids, we always had a fear of something or someone that was just in our imagination. Well, I only wish the story took place in my imagination, but unfortunately it didn't. When I was 12 years old, I would earn money by helping people move furniture, mow their lawns, rake up leaves, and normal quick household chores. Most people would be impressed with my work, so sometimes they would pay me extra. This was a time before cell phones and computers was the only thing that kids my age would be obsessed with, so most kids would be outside all day. One day, my mom received a phone call from the police department. They were informing her that our cousin had gone missing. This was a huge shock to us. He was always smart to follow rules. I'd like to point out that we do the same kind of household jobs, so something in my gut told me it might have had something to do with that. This was a huge shock to my mom, and I've never seen her so terrified. I kept trying to calm her down and let her know that the police is going to find him in no time. After a bit of time, she finally calmed down and told herself that he would come back to us safely. Something like this doesn't happen all the time in this state, so everyone around here was very surprised and caught off guard about this incident. I decided to do some digging on kidnappings that have happened in this state. The thing I'd like to point out is that there's not a lot of information about the history of the state, so it took a bit of effort to find something. After a bit of digging, I finally found out a few things. I saw that whenever a new owner would move into a specific house in the neighborhood, 4 weeks later, they would vanish without a trace. I decided to dig deeper to see if there was any other events like this in the neighborhood. It seems that the history of this place is clean, except for the kidnappings in that house. I saw that this has happened to 8 other house owners. 4 weeks after they move in, they disappear. I was starting to see a pattern here I wasn't so sure I liked. I heard that my cousin moved somewhere around this neighborhood, but I haven't heard any details like which street, house numbers, and stuff like that. I went downstairs to ask my mom which house he moved in before he disappeared. She told me he just moved into 124 Maple Drive Road. Wait, that sounded familiar. I thanked her and I got back onto my computer and skimmed through the internet to find the article about that house with the kidnappings. I looked for the addresses to the house, praying it won't be the address my cousin lived. What I saw in the address section caught me off guard. It was the same house, 124 Maple Drive Road, the house my cousin moved to 4 weeks ago. No, this isn't real, right? I told myself. This must have been a fake article, or someone was just pulling a prank and spreading fake news. I searched up this incident on the search bar, hoping it was fake. Once it loaded up, there were 100 news articles about the house and the missing people. I was freaking out. I didn't expect it to turn out like this. It was all making sense. The one house in the neighborhood, new owners being missing after staying there for 4 weeks. God, where could they be? I've got to go into that house, but there's no way a grown-up would just accept a 12-year-old to look around in their house. I remembered I had a goal to dust off at least 3 houses this week, and so far I've only done 2. This was my chance. Fool the owner that I'm simply dusting off their house, but really I'll be searching for clues and seeing what I can find about the missing owners. This is just the perfect plan. I spent all night preparing myself for tomorrow. I couldn't bring too many things, and I decided to bring a flashlight and a pocket knife. Those were just what I needed. I woke up at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, ate some food, grabbed my stuff, and headed out. Most of the people in the neighborhood knew what kind of job I would do for them, and they were always nice, so I felt very comfortable here. After walking in the nice, warm May weather, I stumbled across a house that hasn't really been taken care of in a few years. The grass was overgrown. There was dirt and stains on the house. The windows were dusty and dirty. I looked in my bag to see my simple dust sweeper. I really should have thought this through, I thought to myself. I walked up to the old cracked walkway. Then I slowly walked up to the steps and rang the doorbell. For a moment, I wondered to myself if I was making the wrong decision. I didn't let it dwell on me. I love my cousin, and I'd do anything for my family. I heard someone on the other side of the door slowly walking towards the door. Then it slowly creaked open, and I was hit with a wave of a foul smell. Hello? Someone behind the door said. Hey there, would you like me to dust off your furniture for free? I tried to speak in a confident tone, but it was pretty clear that the person behind the door heard me speaking in a nervous tone. You work for free, right? Yes I do. Very well then. You may come in. I was pretty surprised. I didn't expect it to be that easy. The person opened the door a little more so I could get inside. I stepped into the dusty old house with creaking floorboards and a foul odor. Wow, this place looks very, antique. I was trying to make small talk, but those have never been my cup of tea. I looked behind me and saw the person closing the door. The person slowly turned around, and what I saw still haunts me to this day. It was like a face, with another face over it. The white, pale, cracked skin with areas peeling off, the hair all messed up and tangled, the eyes, they looked so lifeless and white, and the mouth hung open like as if it was screaming. I didn't run. I didn't scream. This all happened so fast. I didn't even know how to react. I just stood there, motionless. The tall being walked 2 steps closer. Hey man, I didn't mean to spook you. I'm a filmmaker and I make masks and props for films, the man said behind the face. I was speechless. I couldn't even say anything. Oh, I just finished making this new zombie mask and I needed to see if it was able to spook people, and it seems to have worked. I was standing there, confused and speechless. Oh, wow, that looks very realistic, I said. Oh, good. I'm glad you like it. So if you want to get started on dusting off the furniture, you can get onto it whenever you're ready, the man told me. Alright, sure. Thanks. The man walked away, and I was on my own. That was not what I was expecting to see. I've seen some cool zombie masks, even ones that almost look real, but something was off about this one. It looked way too real. It didn't look like it was made of rubber or anything. The details were so detailed. That's the only way I can put it. Even the marks around the eyes were so real. I thought I was going crazy. I thought to myself, there's no way that could have been real, right? I tried to calm myself down and tell myself everything is fine, but something down in my gut told me something was not right. To not raise suspicion, I started to dust off some furniture like counters, tables, stuff like that, so it seems like I didn't come here for no reason. The next 5 minutes was fine. It was dusty, but it was fine. I was dusting off a shelf until suddenly it moved a little. It caught me off guard. How could a shelf move that easy? I thought to myself. I pulled the shelf towards me. Then I noticed it was a door. I pulled it open, and behind it was stairs that goes down to a basement. Then the foul odor blasted me in the face. It was so bad to the point where I almost gagged. That seemed to be where the smell was coming from. I had to see what was down there. It was very dark down there, and I couldn't find a light switch. I grabbed my flashlight and slowly crept down the stairs to the dark basement. The further I went, the more unbearable the smell became. I finally reached the end of the stairs, only to find a wooden door in front of me. My gut told me to just get out of there as fast as I could, but I didn't. I just stood there, waiting for my body to make a decision on what to do. I was debating whether or not to press my hand onto the doorknob, then pull it open. I was terrified of what I could find behind the door. The worst kinds of scenarios was playing in my head, and I shoved them away. Okay, this neighborhood needs to know the truth. I can't bear to walk around knowing something like this is going on, I said to myself. I slowly raised my hand, then I gently pressed it onto the metal gold doorknob. I knew I wasn't going to find anything good. Finally, I slowly turned it, and I gently pulled it while the door softly creaked open. The next thing I remember was a whoosh of strong, foul air hitting me in the face. It was so unbearable. I slowly crept into the old dark room that's barely lit with my flashlight. I shined my flashlight at something I wasn't expecting to see. There was a person sitting on a chair facing the opposite direction of me. I could only see behind the person. "Hello?" I whispered, but there was no movement. There was no response. The person was as still as a statue. I took 2 steps forward, then something hit me in the face. It startled me and made me jump 10 feet in the air. I used my flashlight to see what it was. It was a string hanging from the ceiling, and there was a light bulb. I sighed of relief and pulled it. Years later, and what happened after I pulled the light is as clear as day and engraved in my mind. The light illuminated the room, along with rotten, decayed corpses piles all around the room. I don't exactly know what I was feeling. It was sort of a electrical jolt, kind of shocked feeling, but at the same time, I was just frozen in shock. I quickly looked behind me to see more lifeless bodies hanging from the ceiling, and the faces, the blood, curling, decaying, lifeless faces. Then I quickly looked and saw a body that looked bloody and fresh. After looking for an extra second, it turned out to be my cousin, the one who was missing. What I felt is a feeling I could never put into words. I was hoping maybe he was still alive, so I gave a little kick on his foot to see if he would respond. There was no response. I was too late. He was dead. I put my fingers on his neck to see if his heart was beating. All I felt was his skin, cold as ice, and his eyes. They were so bland and lifeless. Finally, I listened to my gut and bolted out of the room and up the stairs and through the door, not caring that I left it open. I frantically pulled the front door open and burst out of the house and took one last look behind me to see the man with that so-called zombie mask in his hand, and his creepy smile and face tone is something I will never forget. The mask was dripping. I immediately knew everything without question. I couldn't let him walk around and get away with killing my cousins, so I burst into the house and pulled out my pocket knife. The man was still standing where he was standing at the window. I pulled him towards me, and he was as stiff as a statue and tumbled on the floor. After taking a quick look, I quickly came to realization that he was dead. But there was something really off about the way he looked. Out of anger, I started to aggressively slash the man with the knife, but what came out of his skin wasn't blood. He's been stuffed. I couldn't deal with this anymore. I ran out of there as fast as I could so I could get home and call the police and tell my mom everything. I burst into my house without greeting my mom and headed straight for the phone to tell the police everything. They arrived at the house and burst their way into the house to search for the bodies and the man. The officers headed down to the basement to make a shocking discovery to find all the bodies sitting in a row with a sign written in blood saying, "Have fun meeting my family." That was the worst night I've ever had. I could see those people in my room watching me. Well, that was 25 years ago, and I still haven't forgot about this whole experience. And it still haunts me to know that the man is still out there, and the bodies. I don't sleep anymore. I see them everywhere I go. I tried having therapy, but it was no help. I even spent some time in a hospital to avoid them, but they go wherever I go. I can't even have my eyes closed for a minute, and the temptation, it's impossible to resist. I need more. More family members. Not alive ones. I need ones that will never leave you.